Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining She Politics. And today we have Representative Gallagher here. So, Representative Gallagher, can you please tell us a bit about your background and what inspired you to pursue a career in politics?
Sure. Thank you so much, Jessica. And I want to thank you for all of your hard work in organizing young women for politics and for just being involved in the future of our country. It's really important. So, I was always very interested in how I could make things different and how I could make things a better place. When I was young, I was really passionate about the environment and I was very worried about climate change. And I started out just doing what I could do on an individual level. And then I started to learn more about the systems that were in place. So, environmentalism was really my entry into the world of politics. But I also, in high school, I started clubs. I was in high school in the 90s, and at that time, there was still a lot of taboo around the LGBTQ community. And I started the first gay straight alliance in my high school, which was like a very big deal in my high school because we had never had those kind of conversations before. And I also was working on food insecurity through my church. And I just found that giving back and connecting with people really motivated me and really made me feel like my life had a purpose. So I continued to do that in college. I got very interested in deeper things about the environmental movement and the policies and structures that were making our country make the choices that they were. This was right around the time that Al Gore had a big documentary out about global warming. And that was really something that was meaningful to me. I was also in college when the Iraq War started, and I really was against the war. And I was also in college during 9/11. So I saw a number of major global political phenomenon happen, and I wanted my voice to be heard. So a lot of what I was doing was anti-war, environment, and peace and justice work. And so moving into my adult life, it was kind of hard to find uh, where that fit in the world of work. So I spent a lot of time as a volunteer doing that while I worked in the art world and while I worked teaching young people art. And I worked for art museums and galleries, but nothing really impacted me or brought me the satisfaction as much as the activism and the political organizing did. So at one point, I thought, if I feel so inspired by this work I'm doing in my free time, why don't I try to do that work as my job? And I was critical of the person who had this seat before me. I didn't think he was making decisions that aligned with what I knew my neighbors and I felt. So I decided to take a huge risk and challenge him in a primary. And because I had done activism work in this community for so long, I actually won. So that's how I came to be a representative.
Wow, that's a truly inspirational story. Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing.
you.
So I was just wondering, what are the key issues you are focusing on during your current term?
Well, as you know, um, we are really in a crisis point when it comes to the climate, and we're seeing the impacts of that with the fires in LA, with the flooding that happens here in New York, the flooding that happened down in Florida, in South Carolina, in North Carolina. So, thinking about policy around the environment is something that I'm very passionate about. This upcoming year, I'm going to be trying to help a coalition pass more bills around restricting the use of fracked gas in society and building alternatives to that. I'm also very passionate about housing. New York State has the highest level of homelessness that we've ever seen um, in, I believe, in our history, or at least in our lifetime. So, really making sure that truly affordable housing is available is another one of my absolute priorities.
Mm.
And I'm also very passionate about garbage and waste. And I was really excited this year to be named the chair of the Solid Waste Commission. And we're going to be looking into our trash system and how we can improve that. So that's something I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I live in New York State, so I have some experience with the garbage situation.
Yes.
Yeah,
Garbage everywhere.
yes, I know. So how do you feel your experience as a woman has helped shape your perspective and approach to politics?
You, I think for a long time, the patriarchal systems that we live in, where men are granted a lot more authority, a lot more respect, really did hold me back. I think that I always felt like I wasn't good enough. But these men, as time went on, I started to realize that, men would show up in my community, live here for 1 year, and then be trying to be the Congress member. And here I was building community, being a part of a movement that was mostly women, and thinking about that connection that I had with other women through the environmental movement. And getting really fed up with some of the behaviors that um, entitled men exhibited, I decided, this is really important. And I think some qualities that being raised as a woman really brought out in me was empathy and connection and community building. I think I'm not afraid to show my emotions, and I'm not afraid to connect on a personal level with the folks that come in every day to our office who need help. And I think that makes us stronger advocates, and it makes us more powerful when you can really be genuine across all different experiences. That is meaningful and impactful, and it helps you write better legislation.
Mhm. That is very well said. Thank you so much for that.
Thank
And
you.
that being said, what steps do you believe need to be taken to achieve gender equality in political representation?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. There is a saying that for a woman to run for office, 10 people, I think it is. I can't remember the number, but I think it's something like 10 people have to ask her. But for a man to run for office, he just asks himself. So I think that for us to achieve gender parity in the government, it's really important that we work to build the confidence of women and the self-esteem of women as we grow up, because there's so much that's done to kind of cut us down from the economy, the beauty economy, right? Where they're trying to distract us and take our money and really make us focus on like our skin and our weight and all that stuff, which is all nonsense, to really pull people away from that and bring them in to movements early. And so people can start to see that they have value and worth no matter how many pimples they have, no matter how much they weigh, no matter how tall they are, or you know anything else, how long their hair is, all of that actually does not matter. And it's a lot of deprogramming, I think, from the mass media, which is really there to make us consume. So I think the earliest that we can teach young women that people are basically trying to keep us down and take our money and build us in terms of our other uh, qualities and our other initiatives, help people find what they're truly passionate about, that is how we're going to move things forward. And I think it's really important to support other women in office and make sure that they're getting credit. Because what I've noticed is often men will claim the credit of the entire movement for themselves, whereas women, even if they had a major part and role to play, they feel uncomfortable claiming credit for the work that they've done. So I think it's really important for us to shout out each other and make sure that people know. For example, in our State of the State this week, a number of bills were introduced by the governor that had actually already been introduced by women legislators in years previous. And I really want to make sure everybody knows that these legislators wrote those bills and that people, put a lot of work and effort into the creation of that and really amplify each other's work so that we can start to see ourselves as we should.
Yes, I completely agree with what you say. Yeah.
It is so hard. Even, I'm an adult and I'm constantly getting ads for things when I'm trying to relax and look at Instagram or something, it's just constant. And it's really, really hard to not let that permeate because they've actually created algorithms based on our brain chemistry that is there to manipulate us. So we're all in the midst of being brainwashed, and we have to help each other stay away from that.
Yes, I completely agree with you. So what skills do you believe are essential for high school students aspiring to pursue a career in politics? For example, what specific activities or organizations can they join to develop their skills?
I think it's really important to build your confidence. So I think doing something like debate club or Model UN or even just a club where you have to get up and speak publicly, practice speaking at school board meetings or in theater, after school. All of that is going to help you feel more confident and more able to stand up and share your ideas. Being able to present is really important. I think additionally, make sure that you're learning about a number of different issues. So diversify what you're reading about, read the news, pay attention, try to get different perspectives on things and learn to analyze information because uh, if if you end up in elected office, you have to be able to work on every subject. You need to be able to analyze laws from every different background. We might be passing agricultural law, and then the next thing is a law about traffic, and the next law is about drug and alcohol policy. There's so many different things to learn. So I think there's that aspect. And I think another really important thing is it is great to have an ambition and a drive, but also find a place for you to relax, to find a creative outlet, and to find something that is for you. Because uh, this is another thing. So many women put themselves in the back seat and everybody else in the front seat. And that's something that can happen very easily in government work. So we really have to teach ourselves to take care of ourselves and have boundaries.
Yes, I agree. And that's what a lot of schools don't teach us, those skills.
Yes. Yes, those skills are not what get taught to us. In fact, we're taught to overwork, if we're high achievers, we're taught to, I remember in school I had, I would go to school, then I had theater after school, and then I would go to my job, and then I'd go home and do my homework. And I was just constantly, working. And I mean, theater I loved. That was really for me. But everything else, it was just like you have to learn to create space for yourself because no one else is going to create that space for you.
Yes, society overwhelms us a lot these days.
Yes. Yes. And takes advantage of us.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
And lastly, what advice would you give to young women aspiring to enter politics?
I would say, one of the moments that made me actually pursue um, running for office was someone said to me, "You don't understand politics." And I said, "Oh, you want to see who understands politics?" So, I took it as a dare. And I think anytime someone tries to tell you that you can't do something or that something's not for you and it's what you want, you're not doing it for somebody else, it's what you want, take that as a dare. Don't let that be something that invades your self tape that tells you who you are and who you can be. take that as a dare and live to prove them wrong because that can be a great motivator.
Thank you. That's a very powerful message. So that concludes our interview for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. It was great.